Hello and welcome to Happy Synthesizers, a podcast about singing robots. I'm your host, Kay, and today I'll be talking with Hen, also known as Aphelion IC. They're a visual artist who primarily specializes in illustration and simple 2D animation, and they've also dabbled in making UTAU content. How's it going, Hen? Have I missed anything?
Honestly, not really. My day job has been taking up all of my time, and I've barely been able to draw anything. Maybe soon, I'd really like to get back into making art as a hobby, not just for work, because I do art for my work. Thank you for having me, Kay. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. Well, simplest question first. How did you get into vocal synth?
Well, as with many other people my age, I got on the internet when I was relatively young. So I found it as many do, which is just on YouTube while browsing the videos. I don't exactly remember when I first got into it, but I did also play a bit of Project Diva 2nd on the PSP, so a lot of my early favorites were Melt by Rio, Yellow by KZ of Lifetune, Romeo and Cinderella, that kind of like era of vocal synth where it's mostly the songs with Hatsune Miku and the other Kryptonites getting popular. Look Here Baby is one of those songs that is like super burned into my brain because I kept hearing it in the opening of the game. Really good. I know Rio has mostly stopped making Vocaloid songs now, but if he makes a comeback, I think it will be really cool because he's been so iconic in the community.
Nice, yeah. So, your hobby artwork is only sometimes related to vocal synth, so I want to approach this a bit more as a sort of a fandom-centric discussion than some of my other interviews, but we'll get to the stuff that you've created as we go. So, with that in mind, besides Rio, who you've already mentioned, who are some of your favorite vocal synth artists, and what are some of the things about their music that make them your favorites?
In terms of music, one of my recent favorites is Sasuke Haraguchi because of Hitomania and Medicine, because they're just such weird songs. I think we need more weird songs with 1,000 random sound effects. And another one that I really like for a long time is Pinocchio P because of how he mixes his voice like as the backing vocal with Miku's. It makes for a very nice listening experience because of the different sonic textures, and I like that he's always trying something a little bit different with all of his songs, but they're all still like distinctly his. And he's also one of the vocal synth producers who I know that does his own artworks and designs for his MVs. So I think that makes him even cooler to me because of like the expanded skill set. And as of late, I've been trying to listen to more English vocal synth so that I can have that experience of listening and understanding the lyrics rather than reading the translation. So a name that might be familiar to those in the fandom is Flavor Foley. I've been super hooked on Water the Roses because it's just so damn catchy, and the way that the MV is edited with the paper texture and the little word magnets is so beautiful.
You're the second of my interview subjects to bring up that song specifically. Clearly, they've made quite an impact. I think my favorite from them is still maybe Butcher Vanity, but it's pretty hard to pick a favorite out of them. Like, every single one so far has hit.
Yeah, I think Butcher Vanity is their most popular song that isn't on their channel, which is really funny because I think it's on Vain Lily's channel.
Yeah, I think they didn't expect it to be quite that big of a hit, especially because Yishi wasn't even available for sale on the main Dreamtonics website yet. You had to go through, like, the Chinese Taobao thing. So it really did come out of nowhere. Yeah, like, they came out with Butcher Vanity, I think, barely 3 weeks after Yishi came out for the Taobao, which was, like I said, before the main release. So I remember when it came out, I was just like, did they hire a person? Is this a singer? Like, I didn't know that this was a new synth.
Yeah, she sounds really good in that song. I think that also contributes to why it became so popular.
That and just
like the demographic outside of the Vocaloid and V-synth community.
For sure, it's definitely gone viral beyond it, but I also, the part of that I think is also kind of just the shock value of the subject matter.
I mean, people love a bit of shocking subject matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of Yishi, similar question to before, who are some of your favorite voice banks? And I'm asking about both the ones that you like to work with, because you do UTAU covers, and also some of your favorite voice banks on any engine just to listen to.
Well, obviously, Hatsumiko is one of my favorites because, she is the face of vocal synth, and she has been for so many years. It's such a basic pick, but I just really like her. I think she's great. Other than her, of course, for Utao, I really like Kai. Mainly from listening to the covers by a popular, I think, Utao user in the community, which is Revolocities, because they make a lot of covers using him, and I just tend to prefer his strong rock style vocal. They also have an Utao of their own, which is Yutsukoe Karasu, which they use a lot in their covers, and I think recently they released a diff singer of him, which I haven't gotten the diff singer yet, but if I do, I think I'll try him out.
Yeah, I know exactly which artist you're talking about, and I love both of those voice banks. For any listeners who don't know this person, I'll link in the show notes. But yeah, 2 A+ choices right there.
It probably also helps that he's just a really popular voice bank to use anyway, so a lot of people know him.
For sure.
Yeah, I also like Haruka Nana and Ananyoi because they have such like a bright vocal tone.
Sorry, what was that second one? Haruka Nana and
Ananyoi, I think.
Ananyoi.
She's the one with like the rabbit ears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in general, I just think that most popular Utah voice banks, especially like the Vocaloids, that they called, those guys like Yokune Ruko, Namine Ritsu, because they're so old and people have already known them for so long. They're just iconic, and their voice banks are like fairly good quality even for the time that they were produced in. But even like the newer voice banks, like made by the modern Utah community, are also pretty good because they come up with like a billion kinds of rec list and just ways to record and format your Utah banks. So another user, Ozumi Wizard, has a lot of amazing voice banks that they've made with just their own voice. Like, they're the only person who voices all of their voice banks, I think. I don't think they've had another voice provider, which is really amazing. I really like their deep and mature one, which is named Ivory. I think at some point I might want to try using it.
Sorry, who is this? Who is this creator?
Ozumi Wizard.
Ozumi Wizard.
I can provide you the link if you want later.
Absolutely. Good to have for the show notes.
Okay, great. And then besides Tao, I feel like I've been going on for quite a bit, but Chise is one of my favorites because she has like a nice boyish or androgynous quality to her voice, and I think is very appealing, kind of like a V-Flower.
Yeah, I haven't bought Voicona or Chevio yet. It's one of the engines that I haven't really touched so far, but like it's on my sort of distant to-do list. And when I do Chise, or I've never known for sure whether it's Chise or Chisa, but I think Chise probably makes a bit more sense. Anyway, she's top of the list.
Yeah, I think it's called Chise because of the way that you pronounce her Japanese name.
For sure.
Yeah.
Moving on a bit from the vocal elements to the visuals, as an artist, are there any vocal synth characters whose designs really stand out to you as sort of the favorites?
In terms of character design, it's very hard to pick and say like who is definitely my favorite. Like, I have a few that I like, but favorite is a bit of like a hard title to give, in my opinion.
Well, then in that case, no need to use the word favorite. Just what are some of the ones you like?
Sure, of course. Because when it comes down to character design, in my opinion, it comes down to like less is more. Because character designs with like a very obvious and recognizable feature, like Miku's blue twin tails and Kaito's scarf, I think those are the most memorable because of like one feature that is the most recognizable. For like anime style characters, like a lot of Vocaloid mascots, it usually comes down to hairstyles because you can see that there's a lot of brightly colored hair, but just anything that is easy to recognize is the most important. So I think like Gumi, Gakupo, Chise, again, Matsuda Poyo, I think those are like some of the quite iconic designs, but there are a lot. I think in general, Vocaloid and vocal synth in general has like quite a good selection of character designs.
Yeah, there's very, very few out there that I would say are like not good.
That's why I think it's like hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, and like, I'm sure that the voice bank itself is going to be lovely. I know that there's one upcoming for Synthesizer V called Halo, I think. And just the longer I looked at that design, the more things I noticed. And just like, there is a lot going on here. Oh boy. Kind of the opposite of your less is more.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I can see what you mean. Well, she is based on that Bang Dream series. She's coming up with another one alongside another one. So I kind of understand because like I've played those games, so I can see like all the visual references, but it's definitely like a maximalist design.
Yeah. But circling back, your point about, less is more and having sort of one really particular, immediately recognizable thing leads pretty perfectly into my next question. Hypothetically, if you were creating a character for a voice bank, and let's say that this is going to be an official design and not just, say, like, one of the fan designs that people do for a Dream Tonics voice bank or whatever, are there any particular elements of character design that you really like that, like, appeal to your tastes and that you would want to try and include regardless of what the voice is like? Or would you prefer to approach a project like this kind of just totally blank slate, do something with no preconceptions?
In terms of design elements, I always draw eyelashes on all of my characters, but outside of that, I would prefer to start with a blank slate and I just outline one of two things, which is either the theme of the design or the character's personality. Since a lot of voice banks have kind of like mini profiles that says like, oh, they like, dislike, a little bit of backstory maybe. Kind of like a VTuber in a way. But of course having both is the best, so that way the character design can communicate both. But it helps to just have a starting point, so you can start with like a mood board to get a vibe, and then you split off into the specifics like fashion, the body, that kind of thing. Because most of the character designs for vocal synths are based on the quality of the voice itself, I think having a design that complements the voice and gives off the right vibe is the most important.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I probably should have been a little clearer in my question. I was thinking of pretty small things like how all of the Kryptonloids have painted nails, even the guys, just sort of like little things like that. But even then, if you're not designing a whole suite of characters and you're just doing one, then it makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily want to have anything going in. But like, then you mentioned the eyelashes. That's perfect. That's exactly what I meant. Just wondering about neat things, details that you like to include.
I think it can be indicative of like the artist's style as well. Maybe like it's just like a subtle watermark.
Yeah, a signature thing. Speaking of creating your own characters, have you ever thought about making your own Utao?
I have actually been working on and off on my own voice bank. It's kind of a basic one. There's not much like in the way of multi-expression like some other people's voice banks or like appends, that kind of thing. But it's my first one, so I'm not that worried about it, and it's not ready for release yet because I still have to finish drawing the character art, and I'm thinking of re-recording some samples, but that's on the back burner. So it's just my regular voice. It just sounds like me. And I'll definitely post about it once I finish. It was a really interesting experience recording for it though, because I don't have a microphone, so I just use my phone for everything. But in the future, if I make more voice banks, I definitely want to improve on this one or make new ones.
If you get some fancier ones in the future, you can call this first bank, Aphelion Lo-Fi, or whatever you want the character to be named.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a good idea. I might keep that. Credit you for it.
Thanks. So when you're making your covers with existing Utao banks, you generally create some new art for them instead of like using the original PV for it. What is your general illustration process like? Like, what art programs do you use, and how long do the illustrations for your videos tend to take?
Okay, so for all of my artworks, I used to use Procreate in like a few years ago because I was working mostly out of my iPad, but now I've since moved completely over to desktop, so I use Clip Studio Paint. Generally, the illustrations don't take me that long. I'd say maybe at least 2 hours, but they don't go like they don't take me like an entire day to do, because I do want to just like make something that's quick but also looks nice. And the process itself is not that complicated. I just take a still or something that I like from the MV, or sometimes the album art if the song like doesn't have an MV, and just make an artwork inspired by it that also features the voice banks. Not using the original PV is just like a personal preference. I hope I don't come off as like pretentious when I say this. It's just like, as an artist, I feel like I should put in some effort into the visual aspect, because the cover is already derivative, so I just want some part of it to be original, you know?
I don't think that sounds pretentious at all. I mean, like, being an artist is your main thing. Like, I totally get why you would want to have something of that nature to showcase.
Yeah.
And on that note, I wanted to get your perspective on sort of how a song's artwork and video affects its popularity. So, bit of preamble. The 2 most viewed songs on YouTube as of recording are Young Girl A by Sinamota and Goodbye Declaration by Chinozo, which both have pretty simple, if somewhat eye-catching art. And then on the other hand, a lot of the vocal synth songs that have found popularity really fast have been ones with pretty elaborate and attention-grabbing animated videos. Things like Sand Planet by Hachi, which I think is still the fastest to ever crack 1 million views on Nico Video. Or the number 3 most popular, most viewed song on YouTube is Mesmerizer by Satsuki. And like, keeping in mind that they're all pretty great songs in their own right, what role do you think that the visuals play in the success of a vocal synth song?
I think in terms of the artwork, it doesn't matter whether the music video is animated or not, just whether the image is eye-catching, like you mentioned, because like for example, Young Girl A's the artwork that they use is so simple that the bright background just draws your attention, and the simple art style conveys like a children's drawing vibe, which is kind of like what the lyrics is and the title is meant to convey anyways. And for like Mesmerizer, it's like, you know, bright colors that also draws people's attention, as well as like the twist at the ending of the MV. And it also probably helps if it gives the vocal synths that they used a memorable original design or an outfit, because it makes it feel like the modules in the Project Diva games, and it also kind of tends to lend itself well to fan art, which will boost the popularity of the song even more.
For sure. That reminds me, circling back to Pinocchio P, who often has such unique Hatsune Miku designs for his videos.
Yeah, I would really like to see, like, maybe if Project Diva plans to ever adapt any of those designs into modules, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how much Project Diva is still active, given that it's largely been superseded by Project Sekai. But, oh gosh, what's it? Nobody Makes Sense. That's my favorite of Pinocchio P's designs, if not necessarily my favorite song from him.
I think my favorite would have to be Common World Domination, just because it's very iconic look. So I think it lends itself well to like an updated kind of design for a Project Diva game or something like that.
Well, I know that Common World Domination is featured in concerts, and when Miku performs that song, she's in a custom costume.
I've never been to the concert, so I've never seen like Miku's costumes for it, but let me see.
Yeah,
Doing a lot of Googling.
No, fair enough. I mean, this is a podcast about discovering new vocals and things. The only thing I will say about that, I actually have been lucky enough to go to a Miku concert once in 2019, which was fantastic. Common World Domination was not in that set list. I had only just seen a clip from one of the concerts where it was. And most of the concert that I saw, it was Magical Mirai Tokyo in 2019. For the most part, she was just in her standard outfit. And would change costumes, you know, for the concert theme, which at that time was Bless Your Breath by Kuragepi or Wada Takeaki, and then a few others. I believe Romeo and Cinderella got a costume change, which is pretty classic. Rin and Len performing Bring It On had the alternate outfits, that sort of thing.
I've seen those because of the clips that people posted. Turns out that actually Common World Domination does have a Project Diva module, which is great.
Sick. Yay! common world domination aside, any all-time favorite videos? Like, setting aside how much you like the song, any videos that stick out in your mind is like, whoa, that one was really good?
Recently, I really liked the PV for Hana ni Kaze, or Wind Over the Flower by Balloon, which was animated by Avocado 6. I think people know them mostly online for like their illustrations, but they can also do a lot of like different things. They're really good at animation, which is they've animated for quite a few Vocaloid music videos, I think.
I was about to say, I recognize that name, I just can't think of another song that they've done off the top of my head.
I think they've done some songs by Lando, and other, I think Charles, also by Balloon Light, was also animated by them.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yes. I think the typography that was used in the video is really cool, and the animated sign language also stands out a lot to me because you don't really see that since hands are hard to draw.
Yes, they are. Oh boy.
Yeah. So another one is, this is not vocal synth, but it was made by a creator that also does vocal synth. The PV for Bakusho by Shudo, similar reason. The video only features one illustration with a few variations for like the facial expressions, and but the lyrics have like a kinetic text feeling. I think if videos with like animated or kinetic text are more interesting, because even the PVs with still images as the background can be really enhanced with just a little bit of like animated text and some strategic cuts. Makes it feel a lot more dynamic.
Yeah, it lends some more energy to it. And I know exactly what you're talking about with Shudo. Like, his music videos are consistently very striking.
They're very simple, but they do what they need to do. And they're very eye-catching. I've been using this word a lot.
I mean, we live in an attention economy.
True. So true. You know, like, back to Project Diva again, you know those animated videos that they have like in the background, which is sometimes like the Vocaloid in question like dancing, or maybe they are having like a short animation in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're called, but because there's nothing super special about those videos besides like the dancing, or like sometimes they have a sort of like a skit or a storyline. But Yellow by KZ, the one for that song, is just one of my favorites, purely because of nostalgia, because I used to play that song a lot on Project Diva.
Nice. Have you ever seen Yellow by Yo Kamiyama, who did a decent amount of...
I have.
Yeah, that's where my brain jumps first when I hear Yellow, and then I remember, oh right, but KZ also did it. Nice.
Yeah. The KZ one is older, but Yellow by Yo Kamiyama is also pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and talk about a unique music video.
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping up a little bit, just, do you have any big projects that you're working on besides your Utao voice bank? It'll likely be a little while between recording this episode and it going live, so I guess anything to look forward to in the summer?
Okay, so I'm currently working as an illustrator for this magical girl visual novel called This Magical Girl is a Bitch, because currently Act 1 and 2 are available to play. It's free, and we're currently working on Act 3 with an estimated release in October, which is not summer, but it is Halloween themed, so, you know, we have to land the release so that the hype is built appropriately. It's a story about a magical girl who is not the nicest, and how she uses her powers to blast away all the enemies in her way. And also, you know, the aforementioned Utah Boys thing, but I'm not really worried about that right now, and I'll just release it when I release it.
Fair enough. I do love me a good subversive sort of magical girl story. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It is a lot of fun, and I'm not saying this just because I worked on it.
Even if you were, fair enough. Get that self promo.
I got a shield, man. So good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, actual last question. If you could get any singer in the world to record a voice bank for the engine of your choice, whose voice would you want to sample?
Okay, so me personally, I am a big Bring Me the Horizon fan, so I'd love an Ollie Sykes voice bank. He's the vocalist of Bring Me the Horizon for anyone who's not initiated, but I don't think there are any current commercial voice banks that can do screaming. not via like editing in a DAW, like with Voice Drive or other kinds of distortion plugins, but having screaming in the samples. Because the only vocal synth that I can think of that does this is the Utao Hakane Maiko, I think that's how you say her name, who was voiced by a professional screamo singer. So I think there are other Utao banks that can do something similar because they were also made with scream samples, but if there are commercial voice banks that can do this, then I want to be put on that because I want to check it out.
Yeah, I think by the time this episode comes out, Havoc by Eclipsed Sounds for Synthesizer V2 will have already come out, but as of recording, he's not out yet.
I saw his design on Twitter, actually, because I follow Rise Deity, because they were posting about it.
Yeah, he's, Havoc is a proper screaming capable voice bank, but like I said, he's still upcoming as of recording, so I can't speak as to how easy it is to work with him, but I own the existing Eclipse Sounds voice banks so far, and I've always found them very easy to use, so, speaking of shilling...
Well, does he have a demo? I'd like to listen to it later.
I will link in the description and also send it to you privately.
Excellent! Okay, so besides him, I think if you know the singer Aurora, I think she'd also be a really great voice provider because of her very ethereal voice, and also because she is... I'm pretty sure she's from... I don't know, I forgot which country, but she's from, like, Scandinavia, so she has an accent that's very strong when she speaks English. And I think that having a differently accented English voice bank would be quite interesting.
For sure,
This one, yeah.
Sorry. Just I was pretty much just agreeing with you and thinking, yes, we do need more variety in accents of English voice banks. That would be interesting.
Because if you think about it, like, most of the English voice banks that we have are kind of, like, Japanese or American accented. We don't even have something that is, like, British accented.
Yeah, I mean...
I saw somebody make one, like, a Utao that was British accented. I was like, wow, I've never heard one with a British accent, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, some of the older ones have much more noticeable accents. Oliver for Vocaloid, of course, comes to mind, and the original two, like, first ever Vocaloids, Leon and Lola, were both British Caribbean, so quite a unique accent. But I think part of the thing is that in recent years, with the rise of deep learning AI kind of stuff, I think it does tend to smooth accents out a little bit and generally sound sort of a bit more American, and that is something that happens to a degree with real people singing. I mean, like, there are bands out there where you can hear the singer's accent quite distinctly, but, it took me a very long time when One Direction was getting started to find out that they were a British band because their style of singing didn't sound particularly strongly accented.
Yeah, I think people just mostly default to that quote-unquote neutral English accent, which is just like a very general American English accent. And one last thing, it's not very specific, but I'd love to see some more Korean voice banks because the only ones that we have from Vocaloid anyways, I don't know if other programs have voice banks that are also in Korean, but the only ones that we have from Vocaloid are CU and Uni, I think, which are both female vocals, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I used to be super big into K-pop, so I think more Korean support from modern commercial voice banks would be the vocal synths. Like Synth V would be great.
Yeah, well, Uni is getting a Synthesizer V upgrade. She is going to be released for Synthesizer V2.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, but besides that still leaves us without any masculine native Korean voice banks, so, let's get to it. Bring it on.
Yes, absolutely. And, well, if anything, if Uni is coming to Synth V, that might mean that they're adding Korean to, like, the cross-synth language thing. I don't know what it's called.
They are. Yeah, confirmed.
Oh, really? That's great! Well, no native Korean male voice banks yet, but we can just use that.
We have to live in hope.
That's true. There are, like, Utaos that can do Korean, of course, but that's because it's, like, user-generated. So, yeah, like I said, commercial support for Korean and other languages I can't leave other people in the dirt as well.
Yes, I'm quite looking forward to Magni AI whenever that eventually does come out, because they are apparently hoping to get quite a few languages in there, so, knock wood.
It's great.
Well, on that positive note of looking towards the future, I think we'll wrap this up, but it's been great to have you. Fun chat.
Thank you again. Thank you so much for having me. I think this is the first time in a while that I've really yapped about Vocaloid, vocal synths, that kind of stuff.
This is the Vocal Synth Yapping Podcast. You are in good company.
That's true. My people.
All right. Well, on that happy note, thank you. See ya.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Special thanks to Hen for joining me this episode. This is the last of a series of interviews that I pre-recorded during the springtime, but I love doing these, so I'm always looking for more folks to talk to. If you're active in the vocal synth space and you'd like to appear, send me an email over at happysynthesizerspod@gmail.com. You can also reach out to me for any reason on Tumblr or Blue Sky, linked in the transcript document for this episode. But admittedly, I don't check those quite as often. Happy Synthesizers is written and produced by Kay Judson. The theme music is Eve and Polka, arranged with inspiration from Loy Tuma and Otamania.